Hello and welcome. My God, it's hot. I can't tell you how hot it is. About 30 odd degrees or something like that. And for England, that's pretty unseasonable. The weather's here, it's scorch show, so I better watch myself because I'm going to get a bit burnt if I'm not careful. But nevertheless, we are going to get some work done on the ZZR. In this episode today, we are going to get the bike up and running as far as started. Going to get the exhaust on, going to get the forks sorted and sprayed. Hope it's not too hot for that. Going to get the brakes on, going to get the rear brakes done. So it's quite an episode. So let's get to it. This is the midsection of the exhaust, which is in, to be fair, pretty good condition. Now I'm going to try a few techniques to clean this up. Now you can use Dr. Downpipe, which is quite a good product, and you can also use Harpic X10, I think it is, which is like an acid to clean this up. But as much as that's good and it works, I'm just going to try a couple of other methods that I've seen in order to clean this up. I don't want to be too aggressive with it because I think it will clean up quite well anyway. So first thing I'm going to try is just a little bit of GT85, which is like a penetrating fluid. Just going to spray a little bit on and just use a microfiber and just see initially just how well it cleans. So yeah, I'm not doing a huge amount. So I'll try just a tiny little bit of wire wool, quite a soft wire wool, and I'm going to quite liberally coat this in oil. Just to get it as wet as I possibly can. And then we'll give that a go as well and see how that looks. I might just take a little bit of scrubbing. Really want to scratch the surface of the exhaust too much, but yeah, that doesn't do too bad actually. So that's not too bad. It has cleaned it up a little bit. Now there's other products that you can use. I've got some Peak here, which is a sort of cleans, polish, protects metal, so we'll give that a little go and see how that works. So this is quite a good little product really. It's a bit smelly though, that's the only trouble. We'll stick a load on and we'll see how that does as well. You can actually see now that's actually working very, very well. So let's have a little pause for a minute. This is going to be quite hot work. But yeah, look at the difference there. So that was the kind of before, and then immediately after look, it's looking a lot nicer. So I think if I can get the whole exhaust to this standard, I'll be really happy. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll show you the results afterwards. With a fair bit of work, I've been able to get this exhaust section that you see to, I think, quite a nice standard. It's not perfect by any means, but it's certainly good, and the more I polish this actually, the better it's going to get. So I might treat it to some Autosol to finish it off. The can itself was in good order, but when I took it off, I did notice there's a little bit of the the carbon fibre that was just piercing through here just a little bit, and it did actually cut my hand, so I had to be really careful. Now all I've done is I've skimmed over with a little bit of epoxy resin just so it could sink back into the fibres and stabilise it. It doesn't look as pretty as the rest, but it's sort of negligible and barely noticeable, and by the time the exhaust actually gets a proper clean with I'm not entirely sure what to clean it with actually, but some kind of cleaner I'll put on there to make it shine. That will look hopefully quite nice. It's an original exhaust, and yeah, pretty cool. Now clamps themselves have all been buttoned up, everything's nice and tight. Now I had noticed when I got the bike that this was sitting out at a kind of obscure angle. Now it runs kind of parallel to the frame, which is how I wanted. But all I had to do was put a tiny little bend in this bracket, just so that it sits a bit a little bit more correctly. I can tell it's right way because the sign's the right way. So they're quite an aggressive looking exhaust. And something else I've noted with the exhaust is there's absolutely no baffle in it whatsoever, and it is loud. So I've ordered after doing a bit of research, just a cheap baffle of this diameter with an angle to actually put in here. Will mean I'll need to make a tiny hole here for the bolt, but before I commit it, I'll put the baffle in loosely and just check what it sounds, and if it makes a notable difference to the sound, so it's not quite so aggressive, then I'll commit it and be happy with that. So exhaust's in, that's another step closer. Now I've come across a bit of a problem with the front forks, and that is that the bolt that holds on the mudguard to the fork was actually completely and utterly rotten, and I've had to drill it out. Now in doing so, I've actually made the hole bigger than it needed to be. Now that's intentional, because I've used a very specific drill bit which matches a very specific thing, which is a thing called a helicoil, which is a screw-in thread which will replace the thread that has been lost on a part. And it does mean drilling a bigger hole than is required for the bolt you wish to use, but provided the bolt you wish to use goes into the coil, which it does, you can then tap this hole out to the right size, screw in this little coil with a special tool, which then replaces the thread, which means you can then use a new bolt. So I'm at the stage at the moment where I'm going to tap this out. So I've got my tap, and I've got a tap tool somewhere, or a tap wrench, or whatever they call it, so I can actually tap this this coil out. So, you know, helicoil kits aren't that expensive, and they come in sets that will either provide you just the right size you need, or you can get a set like I've got, which is just sort of here, look, which gives you all different sizes depending on the application and what you actually need. So perfect. Now, but what it does do, my God, does it save you? Just a little bit of oil, and we're just going to tap this out. There's nothing too complicated about tapping, especially if you've got the right size hole, but it is worth mentioning that when it starts to bind, just back the tap back a little bit to clear it. Apply just a little bit of pressure. I'm just going to back that out of it. A little bit more oil, just to help it along. Feel the tap starting to come out the other end now, so that's good. And that's screwed in perfect. So we're going to screw that all the way down, and then all the way back. Feels like about 80 degrees in this shed at the minute. Blimey, it's hot. So good. So now we've got a nice threaded hole, which is just right to receive the helicoil itself. Now there's a small little lug right in the middle of the helicoil, and that's a breakaway lug. And then there's a special tool that you get with each size with a little groove, and the idea is that that groove just locates very lightly on the lug, and then you screw the coil in until it's flush, which I'm doing right now. Not much pressure, shouldn't need a lot of pressure, and as soon as it stops to bite, fight for a bit to get it out. There you go. And sometimes they don't break away, which is what's happened in this case, but you should just be able to knock it away like so. Excellent, so there we have it, one helicoiled fork ready to receive its new bolt, and it all goes in just perfectly. So that just screws in as if it were new. So it's just those little repairs I love doing, they're really satisfying. So yeah, do yourself a favour, if you're going to do a lot of repairs, or especially on 90s bikes when things start to go a bit rotten in places, helicoil kits, drill bits, extractors, all these sort of things are absolutely invaluable. So yeah, hope that's useful to somebody, because it's a bit of a saver, or a lifesaver, and it looks perfectly normal now. Because the weather's been so nice today, I've been able to get the forks sprayed, and I used a product called, well, it's multi-purpose spray, but it's gunmetal grey with metallic finish, and it's got a really nice metallic fleck in it. It's by 515. Not used this before, and I wasn't really sure, to be honest, how it was actually going to work out, but I'm really pleased with the result. It's about 3 coats of lacquer on there as well to really toughen the finish and make it as durable as I can. And I've managed to also dig out my calipers that originally I'd built for the 1100, and they bolt straight on. So they're looking really nice as well, and that's all buttoned up. I've just got the other caliper to put on the other side. Now these calipers I rebuilt about a year ago, so I know that they're all good, and they all had brand new pistons in and seals, so I know that they're going to be in good order. So I'm only going to loosely put them on for now, so when the wheel goes on I'll be able to then bleed the brakes, but I'll need to take the calipers off to actually get the wheels on. So yeah, I'll just fit the other side, and then at least they're kind of ticked off and boxed off. So the other calipers that came off this bike weren't actually in that bad condition. They'd been badly painted, so I could now strip those and repaint and, you know, fully service them. But as I know I've got these calipers and these are good to go, I'm going to just pop these on, and they're not that bad condition. You know, they're not immaculate. When I bought these calipers, they were new old stock, so they'd been sat in Germany for the best part of 25 years. So they needed new seals and a service, but they were in good order. Perfect, that looks amazing, really pleased with that. It's been about a week since I last shot any film on the bike, and in that week I've been able to get myself a roof for my space, which I'm really pleased about. It's a sun awning, which is going to transform this space for me, because sitting there in direct sunlight is an absolute nightmare. I love the sun, but not when you're trying to do work. So just having that ability to have a roof over my head is fantastic. And also, it's not waterproof, but I'm going to get it water treated, or waterproof treated, so that if I do get a little bit of rain, I don't have to immediately pack up. It will, you know, protect me at least while I get my tools away, which is fantastic. So as you saw previously, the forks have now been fitted. I've now put the wheel on, and I've also attached the calipers and bled the brakes even. So I'm really pleased with them. Still a little tiny bit of air in there, it's the tiniest bit of sponginess, but I can't compress the lever all the way, and the wheel spins quite freely and releases nicely. So I'm more than happy with the calipers, and now they're on, you know, I'm really quite pleased. Other bits and pieces I've done, I've now fitted the coils, so that's all good. Coils are on, carbs as you saw were fitted. This little, I now believe this to be an air valve system, is now in place, and the first part of the air ram system is also installed. So, oh, and the battery is all connected up, so that's good. So we've been able to verify at least that the engine will turn over, and I've got ignition lights and things like that. So we're not too far away from being able to start the bike, which is fabulous. Now, you may notice there's a bit of a hole in there in the exhaust, and there's absolutely no baffle whatsoever. Now I do know that's going to be incredibly loud, too loud in my opinion. So with that in mind, I bought myself, just go to my little workshop and find it, a dB killer. Now I've not, to be honest, heard bad things about them. Lots of people online have reviewed them and said that they, you know, for the money you pay, they're absolutely brilliant. So the idea of this is to undo this little bolt in the end, which I will just put to one side because I know I'm going to lose it, and drop this into the exhaust like so. And then once that's pushed home, you have to kind of straighten it up. I'll loosely fit it for now, make sure that I'm happy with it, and then once I'm happy with it, I'll drill a small hole here to make, or to find its way into the screw hole for here, and then that will sort of secure it all and stop it from coming out. But my hope is that's going to quieten it down quite significantly. Now this particular one has also got a removable cap here, so there are options to change the sound. So I can maybe try it initially without the cap, pop it in, see how it sounds, and if I want it a bit quieter still, then I can put that little cap in. But you know, I'm not sure how much that's going to restrict airflow, but we'll see. But I've heard good things, and it should hopefully quieten it down significantly. So that will be a job for in just a moment. Other than that, I think we're going to be good to hook a fuel supply up to it and see if we can get this thing to pop off. I've got a very limited amount of fuel, but I've been able to hook up the fuel supply, and I'm just going to first of all just turn on the fuel here. Now this won't fill the carburetors because the carburetors are completely empty. If I run my tank straight into the carburetors, and I could gravity feed them, but in this case, so it's not going to be an immediate start because it is going to have to pump the fuel into the carburetors. Carburetors are then going to have to fill to then atomize and then do carburetty bits, what carburetors do. But I am hopeful. So just a couple more checks to do. Just want to make sure my oil level's right, which it is. I can see that's good. And I've loosely put my dB killer into the exhaust, and I've just clamped it in position to stop it falling through. It's quite a tight fit, but it may vibrate down into the pipe, which I don't really want. So this is really trial and error at this stage. Let's see what happens. So we've got ignition on. I'm going to give it just a bit of choke, hit the run, and go for a start. So I can see the fuel level dropping, so it is going in. Just make sure we've got no carburetor leaks, which we don't have. A bit more choke. Oh, got a little pop there, so hopefully. And we've got to start. Turn it off because that is proper noisy, so I'm going to put the little cap in to make that a bit quieter. But we have started, which is fabulous news. So that's amazing. So yeah, I'll pop the cap in the exhaust just to quieten that down a little bit, and we'll see if we can get some level of idle. Let's go again. Excellent. So we're idling nicely. We are definitely running on all 4 cylinders. It's hanging a little bit on the revs when you rev it. I mean, when I first got the bike, it wouldn't rev at all. So the fact we're now able to actually rev is amazing. So I'm hopeful that with a slight adjustment to the mixture, which is a bit of a pain to do on this bike because you have to kind of get underneath, but whilst the airbox is off and everything, I can get all that done. I also need to balance the carbs because that's going to make quite a difference to everything as well, because some could be sitting high, so we can get that done, because you know, nothing's been balanced at this point or adjusted. But it's a very successful first start and I couldn't be happier with that. So excellent. I think what I can do now is progress on, knowing that I've got at least a running machine that I can properly dial in once I've got it somewhere that's not in this area that's going to sort of annoy my neighbours. So great, that's really good. I'm really happy. That started quite well once the fuel had got in, and as you saw, idling. So I couldn't wish for more, really. It was quite a good idle, to be fair, once I'd reduced down the actual idler. So yeah, happy. That's really good progress. Of course, once you've got all the airbox on and everything else, it's going to change everything again, because that's generally what happens with these bikes. So it will quieten down actually once the airbox is on, and it will sound less raughty, and that will give me a good idea of what the exhaust is up to as well. I dare say it's going to be a loud exhaust. It's a Micron after all, and they were known for being a bit loud. But you know, some say loud exhaust saves lives, but loud exhausts also annoy your neighbours. Either way, couldn't be happier. Great news. Let's crack on. So in the week also, I have been cleaning up a few bits and pieces. Now I've got my rear brake caliper here, which was in really good order and worked perfectly, so I had no issues with that at all. So all I've done is just given it a quick clean over, and I've left it kind of as is. But all I have done is installed a braided line which I had spare in my little workshop, which was fabulous. So that will then connect to this end of the master cylinder, which has just been cleaned up, nothing too drastic. And I've treated this with some ACF 50, which I've mentioned in previous videos, like a rust prevention agent which attaches to metal, which is really good. But that's all been cleaned up. New clips, just, you know, makes it a bit more sprightly. Taken apart the brake pedal itself and just cleaned up the bracketry. And the last thing I want to do now is just to run this over the whizzy wheel, just to polish that up. So I'll quickly go and do that. I'll be back in a minute and show you what it looks like. 5 minutes on the little whizzy wheel, and yeah, night and day difference. Just looks that little bit nicer when it goes on. So I think I'm ready now to actually rebuild all this, so I can get the back end starting to be complete. So it's quite simple, or quite straightforward. I've checked all the bushings to make sure they're all in good order. It's just a matter of slotting your bits back together and hooking up springs and bolting things up. So nothing too complicated. So I'll quickly button all this up and I'll show you what it's like when it's all done. All buttoned up, looks good. So that's roughly how it all goes together. There will be a little bit of adjustment needed to be made on the switch for the rear brake light. And a nice new pin installed. Always recommended putting new pins and clips. Otherwise, yeah, she's good to go on. Now, when I got the bike, one of the foot pegs was in half and broken, and it's a bit annoying, but I wasn't able to actually secure a good enough condition original. So for the time being, I've sourced a kind of aftermarket set, which will look and do the job just fine. So I can't remember which one goes which side. But yeah, never as nice as original, but you know, it's going to do the job. perfectly. So I'll get those installed. So one to go on here and one to go on the other side. And then that's that job ticked off. And there we have it, all buttoned up and ready to go. Not as nice as an original, but it will certainly do the job. Pop that on the bike. So a bit of a development. The bike now is running really well. It starts on the button and the carbs have been balanced and they're absolutely fine now. If you want to see a video on how to balance carbs, I did one years ago, which you know, if you have a look through my videos, you'll see there's a carb balancing video there, which is, you know, gets the job done. Now, I've noticed that the clutch does not seem to be doing clutch things. And I've also got this sort of resonating noise. Now, I can't really work out whether it's the exhaust that's rattling or whether it's a problem actually with the clutch itself. So I think the plan now, I'm going to do an oil change anyway, is to drain the oil, get this inspection cover off, have a little look at what's going on, because I suspect we have possibly got a clutch issue. And yeah, I'd rather know now before I get too much further. So it's often best practice to put your bung straight into your oil. That's pretty normal. So we'll let that all drain out. So the oil that's draining is, I think, in really good nick, to be fair. Yeah, it smells good. It's very, very, very new. So we'll let that drain. At some point I'm going to retrieve my bung. Still can't get over the condition of this bike for a 32-year-old. I know I've mentioned it probably too many times, but it's just really, really good. So now my oil's drained, I'm going to separate the clutch cable and then release all of the bolts that go around the housing. So just quickly undo the clutch. Oh, that's interesting. Let's just come straight out. Yeah, curious. Getting very curious now about what's going on in here, so I think we'll very quickly whip off this casing and find out what's going on. Good news, I don't appear to have any kind of obvious issues, which is nice. There's certainly nothing broken in here. The plot thickens. Everything looks in really nice order, to be fair, nice and clean, and there doesn't appear to be any damage that I can see. So maybe it was the exhaust all along. Still a little curious as to why I don't have a clutch. Now, it could be because the bike has been sat for a very long time that it's just bound up, and I had the same issue actually on the the XJ900 that I did recently, where the clutch itself was just locked up just through lack of use. So it's not the end of the world to take all this apart and have a little look, but no damage, which is nice. So maybe it is just a resonating sound I'm getting from the exhaust, which is you know, possible, I guess. Cool. Well, no damage, so that's pleasing. We have a bit of an update. The clutch itself was fine, so it just needed the clutch plates to be separated just from sitting for so long with the oil level low, and that now works just fine. I have got it though on the end of its travel adjustment, so there's more adjustment to be made, but we have got now a clutch that works. Now also there was this horrendously loud resonating noise, and using a screwdriver or a long screwdriver, you can use it as like a doctor's stethoscope, put it onto various parts, listen to it with your ear, so pressed against your ear, and what that allows you to do is to actually hear and locate sound sources. So I tested it on various parts of the engine and found everything to be 100% smooth and no issues at all. Put it straight on the bottom of the exhaust onto the bit where it goes 4 to 1, and the noise was horrendous and it was resonating. Now I did lots of little tricks to try and sort that out. I took the exhaust apart, I put tiny little spot welds on the actual joins, but nothing got rid of that noise. Now I don't know whether it's just the fact that this particular bike engine resonates at a certain frequency and that matches the exhaust, which together the combination was quite loud, massive rattle, couldn't get rid of it. So in the end I had to bite the bullet, and I purchased a brand new full stainless steel exhaust system for the bike, made by a company called Delcovic. So it's a relatively cheap exhaust, but you know, money's getting tight on this project now, so but you know, it's a full stainless steel system. I'm actually now really pleased I've done it because it looks phenomenal, and more importantly, it sounds amazing, and all that noise has gone, so I could not be happier with that. So well and truly chuffed to bits. It sounds great. I'm really happy with the volume. It's not too loud and it's amazingly good. I've also fitted a new chain because I just think these are the sort of things that needed to be done. The sprockets themselves were fine. There was next to no wear to those. The old chain wasn't that old, to be honest, but there were a couple of links that were a little bit stiff, so that was taken care of. I've managed to bleed up the entire rear brake now, so that works absolutely perfectly. So I'm very happy with how that works now. Got a really good brake pedal, and the front brake is now coming good. So we've got a lot done. We've got an awful lot done, and it's looking almost like a complete bike. So I've got a lot of talking to do now. What I mean by that is not me yabbing on the microphone, but I've got to talk everything up. So everything now I'm going to go through talking up these bolts, front wheels, back wheel, and just about everything you can see is all going to get talked up, and for that you need a manual. So have a little look up the details when you do this sort of thing. It is important to get things into spec. You don't want them over tight, you don't want them under tight. You know, these bikes are quick, so you want to make sure that's right. So yeah, going to go through now, do all of that, and then we'll start to think about getting the front on, which is quite a step forward because we're getting there. You know, I was able to fit one of the side panels. There's a little bit of scratching here and there that I need to take care of, but I'd much rather do that on the bike. Now, tank itself has now been fitted. New gasket between the fuel sender and the tank itself. There we go. Fuel sender and the tank has been fitted, just because that's a source of leaking for most tanks. It's holding its own fuel, there's no leaks anywhere, and the bike is very happy to be running on its own fuel system, which is fantastic. So the next job really will be to start to build the front, get the rest of the air ram system on. I am going to probably have to take the front wheel off to get that cowl on, but that's, you know, all part of the fun. And then nose cone. Yeah, we are really getting somewhere now. Fabulous. Yeah, it has been quite a productive day. I've got an awful lot of work done, which I'm really pleased about. Now I have just mocked up the rest of the bike just to see exactly how everything fits together. So I wanted to make sure that the nose cone was able to fit on correctly. The lower or mid fairings and the lower fairings all sort of line up, and they do perfectly. Rear fairings are pretty good, there's no issues there. I was missing this center piece and I ordered one off of eBay. Looked black in the picture, but it actually turned out to be a very dark purple. So I've just very quickly sort of brushed over it, or went over it with some black paint and about 3 or 4 coats of lacquer. And I must admit, I'm really quite pleased with the finish. It looks really nice. So I think with a little machine polish, that will all blend in absolutely perfectly. So yeah, just standard black paint, but it has turned out really well, and it's got a really nice deep gloss shine, so you can be surprised what you can actually get away with a rattle can. Everything else is all lining up perfectly, so I've just loosely put everything together here. Mirrors, I wanted to make sure they fit after the repair that I did on this side. I am going to need to get a little bit of touch-up paint to finish this off, and I'm not entirely sure how achievable that is for this colour. And there's going to be a general polish on absolutely everything, but it really is starting to come together so nicely, and I really couldn't be happier. So the ZZR really is coming on leaps and bounds now, and it really won't be long before she's actually ready for the road. In the next episode we'll get the MOT done, so we'll be getting it few final bits and pieces just to get it all put back together, get the MOT down and out of the way, and then we'll go for a nice long ride and give you my sort of first thoughts of it. I really like this bike. It's been incredible to work on. The condition is amazing for the age. Now I know they keep going on about the age, but every time I look at it I just think to myself, how is this bike 32 years old? It's quite staggering that it has survived in such good shape. I mean, I have done a lot of work to get it looking as good as it does right now, but the bike itself was crying out to be rescued. I'm really pleased to be getting to a point now where the bike starts, runs perfectly. It's looking absolutely, I think, proper cool. It's a real retro 90s bike, but it's going to go so well, and I just know that already. So yeah, look forward to seeing you all in the next one. I can't wait to get this bike finished and get it out on the road. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, then consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. Either way, I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.